Can I just make dumbfounded hand gestures for this entire thing? Just, you know.
You okay, Lambert?
I mean, right? Come on. Uh, you know, they just keep pulling the rug out from under me and sending me down that wonderful slide.
They have really have not lost. Whoa! I gotta turn down my. There we go. Sorry. I thought I had muted my TV, but no.
Oh, well.
Anyway, hi
Anything good
Gary.
on?
Well, it's pretty impressive. They are definitely they did, once again hit the ground running and did not waste any time getting down to the heart of the matter. Uh-oh.
I'm
Did I
back.
lose Gary? Oh,
Hold on. Yeah, I accidentally hit something too. So now I'm all dark, but I'm going to fix that in a second.
you scared me there, man. All right, while he's getting that together, let me run down the set list for you real quick. I don't think I missed anything. New Speedway Boogie, They Love Each Other, Mama Tried, Easy Wind, Ramble on Rose, Dear Mr. Fantasy, Hey Jude, and Bird Song. Did I miss anything?
I missed what you just said, so that's okay. I don't think you missed anything. But okay, what one of many amazing characters of this set was a bunch of those songs in a row were songs, and I've talked about this before in the course of talking about this band. They were songs that were quite standard in the Grateful Dead repertoire for a long time, and they were songs the Grateful Dead always played really well, but kind of without variation. You know, they weren't real expansive songs. Did I think that, like 54 years after I first heard them play Mama Tried, I'd be saying, best Mama Tried ever? That was an amazing Mama Tried. We know what this band has done with They Love Each Other. The coda to that has just become this majestic thing. Um, Ramble on Rose, a nice little tune,
Yeah.
always played great. But when Jeff and John start trading on piano and guitar, it becomes something more than that. And that's the story of this band, and it is ongoing.
And that's why when we plug Nugs, all we really need to tell you is that if you're watching the free preview of set 2, you should definitely sign up and buy the broadcast so you can go back and watch set 1 immediately. And there are other things to recommend. We're promoting Nugs because Nugs invited us to do this little thing between sets. And part of the deal is somebody asked me to mention that Yes has been added to the library of Nugs.net. I hope it's true.
Now, if they have the Who and Guess Who as well, we can do that old variation on the Who's on First bit. But yes, it's
Or
a good
yes,
addition.
it is, along with Wilco and Bruce Springsteen and Grateful
Goose
Dead
and
and
Fish
Further
and
and Goose and Fish. Yeah, tons and
uh,
tons of different
it,
bands. We should
yeah.
actually, I should print out a list of them and read some of the list of bands because there must be hundreds of them providing material. Yeah, I'm even in there with some stuff out of my own library of performance recordings. And they have streaming subscription services nowadays that you can watch the entire Dead and Company tour in video. You can download it in various audio formats, show by show or tour by tour on these things. And when you sign up to watch the live stream or the on-demand version of one of these Dead and Company shows, you have like 30 days to launch it and 48 hours to watch it as many times as you want to. So you can just get one and binge watch it for a couple of days and then get the next one and binge watch it, or something like that. I'm just inventing new ways for you to consume nugs.net right now.
Right. And people are asking me, who are not subscribed to Nugs, or they're thinking of trying out a show, buying a show, and they ask me, so which would you recommend? Which has been the best show of the tour so far? And I say, don't ask me that because I'll just say all of them. And it's not to plug Nugs. It's because this has been one peak after another and one great show after another and incredible consistency, and not the consistency that's born of safety. It's the consistency of a great band taking chances every night. And that's what I look for
And
in
that,
music. So,
yeah, and I'm going through as because we've been watching every show because we're hosting these things in between sets. And I've been downloading every show after the fact as well and grabbing highlights for my couple of radio shows that I'm involved with. And it's just there's just one peak performance after another and just long stretches of stuff done. Like there was a playing in the band jam the other day that just went in a place that I've been listening to that song for 50 years,
yeah.
and here was a whole new way of visiting that space. That's the kind of stuff that, and we should mention also that those concert recordings are remixed after the fact. They are mixed for your downloading pleasure by John Altschuler, who is a trained professional in these matters. So it's not just a capture of the live stream, which is pretty damn good sounding mix to begin with, but it's remixed for these consumer downloads.
Right. And I've been listening to them after the fact. I've been listening to them live. I've been listening to them after the fact. And it just rewards every repeated listen. And, I think people will be talking about shows from this tour for a very, very long time. And as this tour takes its place in the overall history of this music, uh, it's there will be some very, very deep memories of what happened here from the people who are at the shows live, the people who are listening to the recordings, the people who are experiencing it right now in real time on nugs.net.
And you can also go back and listen to some Grateful Dead from 50 years ago and compare and contrast song by song, even if you chose to. But
Sure.
anyway, we should probably move on to our recorded interview, eh?
Yeah, we talked to someone we respect enormously and an old friend and a person who's done great service to the music community, talking about another person who did great service to the music community, Chris Strachwitz. Uh, we'll warn you in advance. Things get a little glitchy. John froze on us for a bit. We left that in there because it's like a broken string or a blown tube at a Grateful Dead show. We're all used to that stuff,
Exactly.
and it didn't detract from the overall product. So. Shall we go to our interview with John Leopold?
With
And we
John
won't be
Leopold,
back.
yes, indeed. We
Right.
won't be
As we
back, but
always
we'll
say,
see you,
but Dead and Company will be back. Rumor has it. So stick around. Why don't you? Enjoy the rest of the evening,
and we'll
everybody.
and we'll see you in a couple of days. Thank you, Lonnie.
Well, we're very happy to be visiting. Well, we're very happy to be visiting today with John Leopold, a dear friend for many, many years, a big old deadhead, and for the last couple of years, the executive director of the Arhoolie Foundation, a vital, important, and absolutely glorious cultural institution in America that was founded by an amazing fellow by the name of Chris Strachwitz, who left us just a couple of months ago. Hi, John.
Hey, how's it going? It's great to be here.
It's
Welcome,
great to
John.
have you. You've certainly got your hands full all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, when you do stuff with our Huli, you're gonna have your hands full because there's so much great music, and this year has been no different. The recent loss of Chris Strachwitz obviously is the big thing that's going on for us. But we had just finished 2 weeks of celebrating Chris in Louisiana, a state that he loved and recorded much music in, at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, where we had an exhibit about 60 years of our Huli in Louisiana. And in addition to that, we did screenings of a movie that Chris made with Les Blanc, Jay Tayabal. I went to the dance about French Louisiana music. And we also did a panel with Quint Davis, C.J. Chenier, Lars Edgren, and others about our Huli and Chris. And he was part of the festival, the Jazz Fest, for since the beginning. I mean, he introduced Clifton Chenier at the first festival, so it was a great place to be in a town that knows how to commemorate those who've recently been lost.
Okay,
Right.
let's backtrack a little bit and start by telling people what our Hooli is, who Chris Strachwitz was, and why this matters so much.
Right. And if I may interject, if people are wondering about that background there, it's a picture of the great Sam Lightnin Hopkins, who some of you who love the Grateful Dead will know through his music, because Pigpen was a huge Lightnin Hopkins fan, covered Lightnin Hopkins songs with the Grateful Dead, and really inspired Pigpen to be the kind of Pigpen that he was. But also, Lightnin Hopkins was really the person who most directly, I would argue, inspired Chris Strachwitz to start our Hooli Records. So it all kind of ties together.
Yeah, Chris. So Chris Strachwitz was a German immigrant who came to America in 1947 after World War II, not speaking a word of English, ending up in Southern California and listening to border blasting radio, where he heard a lot of hillbilly music, then got into the blues when he listened to Hunter Hancock out of L.A., and he became a record collector. And Lightning Hopkins was his favorite performer. And in 1959, one of his Berkeley classmates, Sam Charters, who was working on his book that is still a seminal book on the blues called The Country Blues, sent him a postcard, said, "I found Lightning." And he immediately went down to Houston so he could meet Lightning and hear him play, and it changed his life. And the following year, he went back to Houston to record him. He was unsuccessful in recording him, but he recorded Mance Lipscomb, Black Ace, and a whole bunch of other performers that formed the beginning of our Hooli Records, which was a record label that started in 1960 and initially focused on the blues, but pretty quickly got into other forms of music. And it was really at the front of almost every folk revival in this country, blues being the first, but he was one of the first nationally to be recording Zydeco music. He recorded Clifton Chenier, 1964, Cajun music. We know Cajun and Zydeco music because of our Hooli releases. He recorded lots of gospel, old-timey music, and then had a real love for Mexican-American music, Tejano, Norteña, all sorts of incredible music in Spanish. And he loved the corrido, and he loved the stories of the corrido, and it's a big part of the Arhuli collection. So about 25 years ago, he started the Arhuli Foundation as a way to preserve things that he had collected during his lifetime. And we have the Frontera collection, which is the world's largest collection of Mexican-American music, but we've also produced documentary films. We've done books. We've done museum exhibitions, and we give out the annual awards called the Arhuli Awards, which are to those artists or organizations who are promoting or preserving traditional roots music. So that's what we do, is we celebrate roots music. And if people go to our website, arhuli.org, they can listen to interviews with everybody from Howlin' Wolf, Clifton Chenier, Mo Ash, all sorts of Cajun and Zydeco performers. They can see pictures, videos, listen to amazing music.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back a little. I'd like to know how you became involved. I first met you in the 80s when you were a young deadhead with your twin brother selling printed set list documents out on the tour. And then later you were a county supervisor in Santa Cruz, California. So how did you become the head of this important cultural foundation?
Well, I do have a checkered past. And when I moved out to, I started seeing the Dead in 1981, and that led me to coming out to California in 1984. And if you're a kid from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and you end up in California, you go, it looks a lot better here than it does there. So the following year, I came out to California for a summer job and never went home. And one of the things I found very early on when I came to California was a radio show on KPFA out of Berkeley that was on every other Sunday. And it was Chris Strachwitz playing this American roots music that I had never heard. I had listened to a lot of music, but where I came from in Pennsylvania, they were not playing Tejano music. They were not playing Transylvanian gypsy music. They were not playing this down home blues that marked the Arhoolie catalog. And so I started organizing my weekends around those 2-hour slots that were Chris's radio show. And that was really the way I met him and Arhoolie. And I went to Down Home Music, which Chris owned in El Cerrito, and I started buying these discs, and I just became a fan. And over the years, I'd had some interaction with Chris and bought lots and lots of records, and had this other life that involved me running nonprofit organizations like the Santa Cruz AIDS Project, and eventually spending 20 years as an elected official, the last 12 as a Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors member. In the late 90s, though, I was in the record store and saw something about the foundation, and I called Chris up just cold and said, "Hey, it looks like you have a foundation. I have some experience writing grants. Can I help?" And he goes, "We always like help." So, I came down and he told me the story of this Mexican American music collection that I found fascinating, although I didn't know that much about Mexican music. And Chris told me amazing stories. And luckily I wrote it all down because it wasn't written down someplace else. And we put together the first grants for the foundation through the National Endowment for the Arts and later the Grammy Foundation, and eventually raised about $1 million for the Frontera Collection, preserving the Frontera Collection, which is a partnership with UCLA to preserve over 162,000 songs, probably the largest non-commercial digital preservation project ever undertaken.
Wow.
And today you could go to our YouTube channel, our Frontera Collection YouTube channel, and there's about 92,000 songs that are up there that you can listen to. And we've had millions of people come visit it. And we've created other projects of that, museum exhibitions, online exhibitions. But it really, once the foundation was really up and going, then we started doing documentary films about the New Lost City Ramblers, the Sacred Steel Gospel tradition, which Arhoolie popularized in the late 90s, early 2000s. We have done one called Down Home Music 1963, from footage that Chris helped record with a German film guy as he took him through the United States, showing him American music. And first time that film cameras were in Preservation Hall, filming George Lewis and others.
Wow.
Lightning Hopkins is in that film. Jesse Fuller, a whole bunch of artists that people would recognize.
Yeah.
And so there's all these rich projects. So he asked me to join the board. I had served on the Rex Foundation board for 10 years. And in fact, Chris was the recipient of the Ralph J. Gleason Award sometime in the early 2000s, I think 2003 or something. But at some point I joined the Arhoolie board because it was a great group of people who love music. And I did that for a lot of years. And then after my term was over, they were looking for someone to help run the foundation while the executive director was on sabbatical. So I've been doing this for 2.5 years. And I work with Chris. I work with him daily for the last 2.5 years until he passed just this past May 5th.
Wow. Well, yeah, to make this a little more relatable for the people who came into this completely unawares, you have to understand how crucial people like Chris and a few other really heroic figures were in making our generation aware of the roots of this music. I mean, the guys in the Grateful Dead, when they were coming up during what Martin Mull brilliantly called the Great Folk Scare, we're hearing very sanitized versions of folk music. Everyone heard Tom Dooley by the Kingston Trio, but no one knew it was an Appalachian murder ballad. Bob Weir told me when they were starting a jug band, they thought they were a Jim Kweskin jug band cover band. They didn't know about Gus Cannon or the Memphis Jug Band or Noah Lewis. And people like Chris were the ones who wanted to expose people to how this music got to us. And what an incredible service he performed.
Well, we're lucky that Chris was a taper, really. I mean, he started actually taping music in the 50s on a reel-to-reel machine. And when he decided to start a record company, he just loaded up his Roberts reel to reel, and drove down to Texas to try to find Lightning Hopkins, and ended up finding Mance Lipscomb and recording his records and introducing him to the world. But he just recorded things, and not unlike the Tapers in the Grateful Dead scene, when he went places, he brought out the microphones and he started recording, and that's why we have great recordings of Willie Green playing in a little club in 1961 in Louisiana, or he got the Hackberry Ramblers. He loved the Hackberry Ramblers from sides that he had heard from the 30s, and he found Ludrin Darbone in Hackberry, Louisiana, and convinced him to actually record a record. And they got the band around in his living room, and he hung a microphone from the light fixture and strategically placed people, and they recorded an entire record in one night. And that's kind of how he did it. And of course, one of his famous recordings and influential recordings happened by chance. He got a call that there was a Berkeley folk singer who wanted to record an anti-war song, and he invited him over to his place and did that same recording. It was a jug band, and got him around the light fixture and recorded this anti-war song. And when they asked him how much they owed him, he said, "Well, give me half the publishing," thinking that he would never really get much. It's a Berkeley anti-war song. Well, the artist was Country Joe, and the song was "I'm Fixing to Die Rag," and of course it was in the Woodstock movie, and that helped pay for the down payment on the Arhoolie building after that movie came out. He eventually gave back the rights to Joe.
That's
Joe
great.
said, "Maybe you made enough for that recording," and Chris agreed.
Yeah, we should also point out, and this is an incredible blessing to all of us, in this world where record companies get swallowed up by conglomerates, and the conglomerates, eliminate the catalogs, what they consider deadwood. Our Arhoolie music will always be with us, because the entire Arhoolie catalog is now in the possession of the Smithsonian. And that is a really reassuring thing to know. And that's really Chris's legacy right there.
Chris, actually, for a record executive, if you could roughly call him that, also had a very interesting concept of copyrights, because he always thought that music should be like books. And if the books goes out of print, then it reverts back to the author. But when he was coming up and starting a record company in the early 60s, there were all sorts of 78s that the majors weren't doing anything with. So in 1964, he started two other labels to release that stuff. So Memphis, we all know Memphis Mini, but in 1964, you could not buy an LP of Memphis Mini's music. It was only available on 78s, and the majors showed no interest in re-releasing it. So Chris contacted Memphis Mini himself, made a deal with her, and then released, recorded his 78s and released that. And that was the first time people could actually hear her music. And he did that with lots of artists. He made sure the artists got paid.
Wow.
Once Columbia contacted him and said, "You can't do that. That's ours." And Chris wrote him back nicely and said, "Just show me the contract that you have with them, and I'll stop doing it." And he never heard from them again. So he believed that music should get out and artists should benefit, or their heirs should benefit, and it shouldn't be in a record company vault that you never get to hear it.
Right.
So he loved when CDs came out, because he got to put out more music. Mark Savoy always said that his CDs were too.
Uh-oh.
John froze up on us, folks. Let's hope he comes back.
Hello.
Oh dear.
Well,
sorry, folks. Technical difficulties. Oh, wait, he's back.
We lost you for a second there, John.
Sorry about that.
Go back to the first thought about CDs coming out and Mark Savoy, and we'll edit and make it seamless.
Okay. Well, Chris loved it when the CD format when introduced. He liked the sound actually better than the records, and he could get 78 minutes on one CDs, and he thought that was a return to the 78s that he had grown up listening to. And so Mark Savoy criticized him, because he goes, "You're putting out too much music on one CD." It was almost too much of a good thing. But he liked getting the music out to people, and he had this amazing treasure trove of material, and he wanted to share it with as many people as possible. Sometimes not with commercial interest in mind, although he needed to make enough money to keep on doing it. But he was pretty fortunate that he could put together the right amount of material to get out to people and introduce multiple generations to great American music.
John, we're running out of time. Where can people find out more? Where can they get hold of some of this music? Where can they find out about the foundation and the music that's available for sale?
Well, if you want to find out about the music and where to buy it, you can go to the Folkways website or Bandcamp, and they have most of the Arhoolie releases available. The requirement as part of the agreement was all the Arhoolie stuff had to remain available to people always. So it's all there. Sometimes you can actually get a CD, sometimes it's only a download. If you want to find more about the pictures, interviews, movies, and other pieces that the foundation is working on and continues to promote, you go to our website, which is www.arhoolie.org. That's AROOHOOLIE.
Start over. ARH.
ARHOOLIE.
It
Dot
happens to
org.
be written on your shirt, so that helps us get the spelling.
Anyway, we have lots of material there. We just in the past year we've put up a online exhibition about California record labels and Mexican music. That's a bilingual exhibition. We just did this exhibition down in New Orleans, and we'll be doing it again in Lafayette come the fall at the Festival Acadian. There's a book coming out actually in November of Chris's black and white photographs. The picture that's behind Gary may be in that, or from that time he took that picture. There are pictures from that session in there.
Yeah, I think one picture from that session was the cover of Lightning's first album on Arhoolie. So
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It's a classic shot actually of Lightning, and this is another one that may be in the book. There's about over 150 pictures, and Chris did individual captions on every single picture. And Joel Selvin, noted writer, wrote an essay about Chris's recording career. It's going to be an amazing book, and it's a great legacy project of Chris's. He was the last conversation I had with him about work. We were working on just the final touches of this book, so it's definitely a book by Chris Strakowitz.
I'll be one of the first to buy a copy of that one, John.
John Leopold, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on Nugs. I wish nothing but the best for you, and thank you for your excellent stewardship of this very, very important cultural object.
Well, and thank you very much, and thank you for the work that you guys do regularly, talking about the Grateful Dead, introducing audiences to all sorts of music, and just your ongoing work on the radio. I love listening.
Everybody wins. Thank you, John.
Take care.
When they come to take you down, when they bring that wagon round, when they come to call on you and drag your poor body down, just one thing I ask of you. Just one day for me. Please forget you know my name, my darling, sugary. Shake it, sugary. Just don't tell her you know. Shake it, sugary. Just don't tell her you know. You thought you were so cool fool, and never could do no wrong. You had everything so uptight. How come you lay awake all night long? Just one thing I ask of you. Just one thing for me. Please the pouring rain. One last voice is calling you, and I guess it's time you go. Just one thing I ask of you, just one thing for me. Please forget I'll meet you at the Jubilee. And if that Jubilee don't come, maybe I'll meet you on the road. But it's just one thing I ask of you. And it's just one